Thanks for joining me on the Peace and Parenting podcast. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome back to the Peace and Parenting podcast. I'm Michelle, and I wanted to share a review on Amazon about my book. For those of you who don't know, I have a book. It's called Unpunished, and you can buy it either at unpunishedbook.com or you can buy the Kindle and the Audible version on Amazon. This person says, game changer for parenting. I could not put this book down. Michelle's insights have not only helped my relationship with my kids, but have also helped me start to heal and understand my own past and traumas. There are several parts that deeply resonated with me. Very grateful for this book. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. The book is part memoir and part what can I do to start this parenting journey into connected parenting. If you're interested, check out unpunishedbook.com. All right. I want to talk about social media because social media always seems to be coming up for everybody in my groups and with my private clients, with my coaches. We all are talking about social media. In fact, on our school thread in our private community, we've got lots of threads around social media, gaming, and all kinds of things. So social media is not going anywhere. Electronics are not going anywhere. And we have to make some decisions as parents as to how to keep our kids safe. But we also want to make sure that we are doing that in a way that doesn't create more unsafety or moments that don't feel safe. Or moments of unsafe. So what I mean by that is that the safest thing we can do around social media, around electronic use, really around anything, around drug and alcohol use, around risky behaviors, around anything in the outside world that seems scary to us, the best thing that we can do to protect our children isn't necessarily to limit them. And I think that is our knee-jerk reaction is to limit. They can't go to the party. They can't have social media. They're not going to have electronics. They're not going to drive in the car with their friends. They're not. Restriction, limit. Now, I'm all for limits when they make sense. But if we're limiting out of fear and we're restricting out of fear, then are we doing our kids a disservice? The best thing we can do for our kids is to allow them space to experience these risky parts of life, parties, social media, riding in the car with the friends, all the things that are so scary to us that can be very dangerous. The best thing that we can do for them is to have a strong, bonded relationship where they trust us. If we are limiting, and also punishing, consequencing, lecturing, et cetera, will they trust us? Will we have a strong bonded relationship where they feel like they can come to us? Or will they be sneaky? Will they lie? Will they do the things anyway without letting us know? Will they sneak social media? I've seen it over and over again. Plenty of kids who don't have social media because they haven't been allowed to have it at 13, 14, 15 years old, find ways to get it. Find ways to go to other people's houses to get it. Find ways to work around it because they feel, quote unquote, left out. Now, I am not saying give your kids social media at 10 years old. I'm also not saying to give them at 12 or 13 or 14. That's up to you to decide as a family. If you are going to keep them away from social media completely and forever, that also is a different story. And that's a family decision. That's not one that I could adhere to, but I get that piece. And I know families who have done that. I'm not necessarily saying it's bad or it's good. What I am saying is that if you have a child who does have social media and you are restricting it so much, you might be creating more desire and you might be creating places where they're going to be sneaky. Would it be better to look at social media, electronics use, going to parties, riding in the car with the friends, all the teenage things or preteen things, or however this plays out in your family? Would it be better to allow them to have experiences around these things with our support? Now, I'm not saying take your hands off completely. Many people believe that. Many people believe, well, if you don't have the restrictions, if you don't have the rules, if you don't have the limits, if you don't have all of the stop gaps in place, then they'll just run amok. Then you're not supervising them. Then you're not parenting. Then you're taking your hands off. That is not true. That is not true. If you have a strong bonded relationship and you have influence and you're not punishing your children, then you have an opportunity to have conversations around social media. Hey, do you think social media is safe? Why? What things are unsafe? What have you seen? What have you heard? What things can happen on social media that are scary? What's the right protocol around using social media? Who should be let into our circle? Who shouldn't? Can you have deep, meaningful conversations around social media that make sense as opposed to just saying, no, you can't have it. We're restricting it. It's dangerous. And then when you give a child social media who hasn't had social media or hasn't had electronics or hasn't gone to the party or hasn't been able to drive in the car, will they, because they have a certain personality, will they go to way riskier behavior? Will they go to taking it to the umpteenth and being on the social media 10 hours a day because they haven't had it and it was too restricted? We have to be very careful. How we roll this out for our children will really affect the way in which they use it and the amount of usage that they have. So I get it. I don't like social media either. In fact, I don't even want to do my own social media. But I don't think social media is going to go anywhere. I don't think that our children are not going to be exposed to it at some point. Even those of us who restrict it completely until 16, 17, 18 years old, they're going to get it then. And then what? And I see this a lot too with college kids. My daughter's entering college and she's had a few kids already go to college. And she says, oh my gosh, mom, so-and-so's going crazy in college because their parents didn't let them do anything. And now they're losing it. They're like, parties all night and out all night and don't come home. And because they haven't had enough experience, because they haven't had enough scaffolded experience at home where it's safe, where they can experience going out late and going to parties where your parent knows where you are and they can come get you if they need to, and they've dropped you off, and like all the scaffolding stopgaps that I put into place for my girls, they didn't have that. So now they went from not having anything, not being able to do anything, to going to school and losing their minds. Can we say the same thing about social media? Could we say the same thing about sugar? Could we say the same thing about food? If you're restricting anything for a child without allowing them some autonomy around it, not all, but some autonomy, and autonomy that makes sense, and autonomy that is scaffolded more and more over the years, will they go into a place where they can't regulate because it's been too restricted? So I think that's something to really think about in social media. The other thing is there's something called the super protective power. And researchers find that if a child has a deep bonded relationship with their caregiver, that they are less likely to engage in drugs, alcohol, premarital sex, pregnancy, teen pregnancy, that those things are less likely to happen to them because they have this strong bonded relationship with their parents. And I think one of the reasons why that works is because if you have a strong bonded relationship with your caretaker, you can also have the hard conversations with them, and you want to have the hard conversations with them, or at least you're willing to have the hard conversations with them because that caretaker has influence in your life. And that influence in the child's life helps them have guardrails of their own and also helps them really come to somebody when something happens, comes to their caretaker when something happens that's offline or that's hard or that's challenging or that's scary or that's risky, because they don't feel judged. So they'll come and explore those risky behaviors and those risky situations with their caretaker because they're not going to get in trouble, A, because their parent isn't, or their caretaker isn't judging them, because it's a place where they can go and ask questions. Now, if they don't have that, then who do they go to? Well, they go to their friends. So if you don't have this open discussion around social media and you don't have this influence in your child's life around social media, where will they go if something creepy happens on social media? They're going to go to their friends. Now, do we want the 14-year-old advising the 14-year-old? Heck no. That's not what I want. I'd rather my kid come to me. But that happens often because the friends become more important than the parents. And the friends have more influence and the friends are more trusted. We don't want the friends to be more trusted than we are, especially when it comes to risky things like social media, parties, alcohol, drugs, the hard stuff, sex, all the things that are hard. We want our kids to feel as if they can come to us no matter what. Now, I have a lot of parents who will say, I tell my kids all the time, they can come to me no matter what. They can come to me if they are, if they end up pregnant, they can come to me. If they end up too drunk at the party, they can come to me. But do your kids believe that they can come to you? Have you shown them that you're safe? Have you shown them that you're not judgmental? Have you shown them that you care, that you can empathize, that you're going to hold space for feelings, that you're going to hold space for mistakes? Or have you shown them something different? Because you can say it all you like. But if the kid sneaks social media and puts it on their phone and they don't feel like they can come to you and tell you because something bad happened on social media because they weren't supposed to have social media, are you putting them in peril? Is your restrictedness, your rules, your limitations, are they actually putting your kids in more of a dangerous situation than giving them social media with guidance or letting them go to the party with guidance? So I know it's confusing. And I know our knee-jerk reaction is to do what our parents do and just say, no, you can't go out with the boy. You can't go to the party. You're not having social media. You're not driving until you're 18. Your curfew's 10 o'clock. That's what our parents did. And that's what they thought kept us safe. I'll tell you what, it doesn't keep kids safe. Just as many bad things happen before 10 as happen after 10. In fact, most crimes happen in the daytime. It doesn't mean that the social media, just because you keep them off it until they're 17, doesn't mean they are going to be less likely to fall into a trap of overusage or doing dumb things. But what can help children is having a connected relationship with their kids. And so if you don't know how to get connected to your kids and you're like, I don't know what that means. I know it means spending time, but it isn't just spending time. That isn't enough. It's a lot bigger, more complex, ideology. And in Peace and Parenting, we've got 10 pillars of the ideas of connected parenting. We teach those pillars inside of our Connected Parent Mastermind, which is our group coaching program, which is amazing. We meet 3 days a week. I run a session and my coaches run sessions. And I have lots of online material to gobble up. But most importantly, those people in there, they're lovely. They're doing this work. They have the same questions you do, that I do, that this podcast answers. But we go into deeper, more specific ideology, answer questions. Anyways, if you're interested in that, we will link it here and you can sign up and join today. And it's a year-long program and it's lovely. If you're feeling like you want even more than that, you can do one-on-one coaching. And that's a great place to get started too. If you're feeling like you're not connected to your kids and you want to get there, if you're not feeling like the relationship is where you want it to be, work on it. You're the only one that can. They're not going to. Okay. Thank you for joining me on the Peace and Parenting podcast. I'm so glad you were here. And I'll see you next time.